I think the research is important because as we get older, our memories go, and if there's something that will keep me younger, and obviously everybody else, then I think it's a good thing.
So this is a program of research that's funded by the National Institute of Health Research, or the NIHR, with a major aim of trying to understand the hallmarks of healthy aging in our brain and in our cognitive abilities.
So it's generally accepted that as people age, it's good and healthy to remain mentally active, to fill in the crossword daily, to do the Sudoku or to play bridge. But there's relatively little scientific evidence to support this, and in particular to tell us what kinds of mental activity are particularly beneficial. So this study is trying out lots of different computer-based training tasks to see whether we can identify any kinds of cognitive or mental activities that are particularly good at boosting cognition in older adults and preventing the normal cognitive decline that you see with ageing.
I didn't have any reservations because the information that I was given was very extensive, and also the members of staff were on hand if I had any queries. We started with a 2-hour session to see if we were suitable candidates. From there we had a period of training on the computer, and these training sessions took about 20 minutes. From there we had the MEG scan, which probably was about 2 hours in duration, and then the MRI scan was the next day.
MRI is a non-invasive imaging techniques which allow us to look at images of the brain. So we can look at images of brain structure, so for example the size or the shape of different brain regions. We can look at images of brain function, so how active different regions are, both when you're at rest or while you're doing a cognitive or a memory task. The exercise study is looking at the effects of physical activity on the ageing brain. So physical activity has been shown to have beneficial effects on cognition in older adults, and it's also associated with a reduced risk of dementia. And what we're interested in looking at what changes in the brain underlie these beneficial effects.
Taking part in the study involved 12 weeks of exercising here in the gym, 3 times a week for half an hour each session. It involved being scanned with an MRI scanner. It involved cognitive tests and fitness tests just to make sure that you weren't going to fall flat on your face.
So the participants come for screening before we enrol them into the study, so we have to check that they're safe to go in the scanner and to be on the exercise programme. And then they either go into the exercise group first or onto a waiting list for 12 weeks. So if they're in the exercise group, they come here to the Clear unit, to the gym 3 times a week.
A, it does you good. B, you lose weight. And it's also helping future generations.
So physical activity reduces the risk of dementia, but it may be that different types of activity are more beneficial. So we'll be able to look at whether going to the gym once a week or 3 times a week is better for you, or whether you need to be getting your heart rate raised during that activity, or whether keeping generally active is going to help reduce your risk of dementia and be good for your brain.
I very much enjoyed taking part in the research. It was quite challenging doing the training sessions, but once you actually got into the flow of things, it was very enjoyable. I'm actually looking forward to the outcome.
And ultimately we hope that if we find interventions that are effective in boosting cognition, that they'll be particularly useful for people at the early stages of cognitive decline.
We capitalise on our knowledge that the brain and our cognitive abilities remain flexible and plastic. We like to think of it in terms of plasticity in cognition and the brain. And we use that ability of the brain to learn and adapt to then develop some very simple lifestyle-based interventions in order to promote healthy aging in the brain and in our cognitive abilities.
I didn't have any reservations about taking part in the programme at all. It was great fun, great fun.
We're really keen that people within Oxford and the Oxfordshire region get involved in the research that we're doing. So we're looking for people who are aged over 60 with some time to spare. So it might be that they take part in a computer-based training study, or they might take part in a study that involves doing organised exercise over a few weeks. We've got so many studies running that we're really keen that, to hear from lots of people within this region who might like to get involved in this research.
I am keeping up my fitness. In fact, I even went out and bought an exercise bike, which I sit in front of the television and pedal away during the boring bits. So instead of making a cup of tea, sit on your bike and pedal.